Manchester United are seriously considering Ederson as their midfield signing. United are told to cut ties with Antony after a frustrating performance last night. Harry Maguire contract talk. Mount injured as normal. More teams distance themselves from Marcus Rashford. And United are looking at loan offers for Harry Amass in January. All this plus the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with, Mason Mount. Amorim has confirmed that Mount will be out for several weeks with a muscle injury picked up against City. Like, the guy cannot catch a break, and I do not want to kind of blame the player. He's clearly not doing it deliberately, but you do have to kind of question his future at the club now. The guy cannot stay fit for more than a few weeks. Spent more time, injured since we've signed him than he has on the pitch. We've not really seen anything from him. It's obviously not his fault that he's injured or injury prone. But clearly something needs to be done regarding that. Like, we cannot rely on Mason Mount anymore going forward. It's just really frustrating because he was actually starting to pick up a bit of form and started to actually is one of the players that does look, like he's got potential to be really decent in Rubem Amorim's system and to help the team. He's good at pressing and all that stuff, but we just haven't seen anything of him. And the fact that he's now injured again for several weeks is absolutely shocking. Serious questions need to be had about Mason Mount in the summer. He had a full summer, let's not forget, full pre-season, so you can't blame it on the fact that he came back from injury and, so he had a full pre-season to try and get his body right and his fitness levels and stuff, and the guy just cannot stay fit. Him, Shaw, are just not reliable enough for United. We cannot carry passengers like that, especially expensive ones that are on high wages, on 250 grand a week. I think it's absolutely shocking. Devastating news, obviously, for Mason Mount. I do feel sorry for him because he's clearly not doing it on purpose, but his body just seems to be broken. And I don't think we can be relying on him going forward. I think that they really need to have a look at his situation in the summer, because we can't afford to keep carrying Mason Mount just the same way that we can't afford to keep relying on Luke Shaw coming back to be fit. It's a massive detriment to the squad and the team. And I do think that he needs to be assessed again in the summer. And if he's not played any games, or if he's only still played a handful of games between now and the end of the summer, I think we should be looking to move on Mason Mount. But the problem will be massive wages, never played. He's gonna be stuck, isn't he? We're just gonna be stuck with a player that's consistently injured on massive wages. An absolute disaster. Just at a time when we need squad rotation as well, especially because you think that number 10 position now. All of a sudden we would think, well, we've got Mount, Bruno, Rashford, Garnacho, Antony that can potentially play in there. And now all of a sudden Mount's injured, Rashford wants to go, Garnacho's out of favour, Antony's shit, and it's just really Ahmad and Bruno. But you do need other options there. So all of a sudden that was a position where you're thinking, well, that's actually quite got decent options to play in that position, to all of a sudden just really two that you can rely on. Really frustrating. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, a player that's been slammed for his performance last night from Troy Deeney is Antony. So as soon as Manchester United took Antony off, everybody else started running. They've got to cut ties with him. I don't want to make him a scapegoat, but honestly, watching him is so frustrating. That's your big moment. He doesn't run. He doesn't sprint. Just get him out. If you're getting rid of Marcus Rashford, whoever is taking him will pay you to get to take him as well. Get him out of the club. So that was strong words by Troy Deeney, slamming kind of Antony's performance last night. And it's not really, I can't really disagree with that. I thought he was not even average at best. I mean, he did no shots, no goals, no assists, lost the ball 11 times, only won 4 out of 13 ground duels. He had a really, really bad performance for me last night. Antony didn't kind of cover himself in any glory in that kind of inside 10 position. Whether there's a role for him potentially as one of the wing backs, who knows? But Amorim was asked about him directly in his press conference, and he had the following to say directly on Antony, saying he needs more confidence. If you remember that Antony at Ajax, he lacks a little bit of confidence to go 1 against 1. He will improve. He just has to do that, to work really hard, and I will help him to be a better player. I said the other day, if Amorim makes Antony into a good player, he'll deserve a statue at Old Trafford, because I don't rate him, being honest with you. And then on both the players, when asked in his press conference today, with Mason Mount, we're going to help him. It's really hard for the player to be out for so long, and he's trying really hard. The same as Antony. If they try really hard, we will help them till the end. So, Rubem Amorim kind of backing his players. And he did say that, actually, and that's something I commend about Amorim, regardless of quality or nothing. All he's asked for from the players is hard work and effort, and then he will do their best for them. Whether their best is going to be good enough for United, I highly doubt. In some players, I don't think it will be, but he's not throwing players under the bus. He will back them if they're giving him his all, and he'll try his best, I think, to help them and to coach them. It's just whether they've got the quality or not. In Antony's situation, I have my doubts around that. And Mason Mount, how can you coach him if he's never fit? It's really frustrating. But let me know what you think about those in the comments. Now, it wouldn't be a news show at the moment without having some Rashford updates or news to go through. Apologies, but it's in the news. I'm here to bring you that and show you where it's come from, and give you the credibility behind it as well. So Marcus Rashford featured on the list of potential forward signings identified by Arsenal last summer, but no indication currently that they will consider revisiting their tentative summer interest. Now, that came from the Daily Mail, almost kind of distancing Arsenal from potentially making a move for Rashford. What I will say on these stories, though, is Arsenal never going to come out and say that they want a specific player, because it weakens their hand in negotiations. So I would say take it with a pinch of salt. But, the Daily Mail is saying that Arsenal are not really interested in Marcus Rashford, because he's seen as one of the, seen as one of the clubs that potentially might go for him. The Muppeteers were saying about Arsenal the other day to keep an eye on. So we'll have to wait and see how that develops. Like I said, it might just be no team's going to come out and say, yes, we definitely want this player, because it weakens your negotiations. But, according to that report, Arsenal distancing themselves from Marcus Rashford. Another team distancing themselves is Bayern Munich. So this came from Christian Falk when he was asked about the links with Bayern and Rashford. He said it's not true, but that Bayern Munich are interested in Marcus Rashford. Of course, he's a good player, but it would be too expensive a move. Bayern don't have a free role on the pitch to ensure he'd be a starter for the first 11. It's true that Bayern are searching for a player who could operate behind Harry Kane and as a backup to the England international. That's why the profile of Marcus Rashford would fit at Bayern Munich. But no, it's too expensive. And ultimately, if it's too expensive for Bayern, it's too expensive for the whole league. It's a pity, but we won't see Rashford in the Bundesliga. That came from Christian Falk, very reliable, specifically when it comes to Bayern Munich news, I would say more so than kind of from other places. But, Bayern Munich distancing themselves from Marcus Rashford as well because of the fee. And that's going to be the issue, isn't it, with Rashford? But the one thing I kind of always go back to keep thinking of, the fact that he said he wants a new challenge might mean that he's willing to take a bit of a pay cut as well. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see how it develops. When asked directly, this was before the game last night, Rubem Amorim asked why he wasn't selected. He said, selection, I chose the players that look ready to cope with the demands of playing a strong game. And then in his press conference after the match, when asked if he felt he made a mistake not selecting Rashford, he said, I felt I did the right thing for the team. It was never a mistake. You have to make a selection. The guys who went inside the pitch changed the game. It was not a mistake because I'm doing the best for my team in my way of doing things. When asked in his press conference that's just come out about Rashford in the weekend, he said he's back in training and he'll have the same opportunity as everybody else effectively, but he's still going to pick his team based on who he thinks is going to be. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens again this weekend. I think that'll be the big tell, because apparently he didn't train this week because he was ill. Obviously he's done that interview as well, so we'll wait and see what happens regarding that. But a couple of teams distancing themselves from Rashford, but we're just going to have to see how it kind of plays out. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, one player that we've been heavily linked with, probably for a couple of years now, is Ederson. So Florian Plettenberg linked us with another player again, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's wrong. I think we are scouting a lot of players, and Plettenberg might just be hearing that the players that we're scouting. But he's linked us again with Ederson. So he said, once again, have been told that Ederson is one of the few names Manchester United are seriously considering for the central midfield position. Some decision makers are fully convinced of his abilities. However, there is not yet a complete consensus within the club. For this reason, there is no concrete negotiation at this stage, but Man United have gathered all the necessary information and have scouted him multiple times. Contract with Atalanta until 2027. price valuation between 50 to 60 million euros for Ederson. Now, he's definitely a player of interest. Like, we've scouted him a few times. I've bought multiple stories regarding Ederson from credible places as well. I think Fabrizio Romano's been linked us with him a few times. So I do think he is a player of interest that we've scouted and looked at, and I actually think he would be a good option for the midfield, could provide cover for Ugarte, could play with Ugarte as well for certain games. So I do think he would be, a very interesting option to bring in the midfield. That would definitely be a summer one though, because of the kind of cost. We don't have that sort of money available, I don't think, in January, unless we do a madness and do sell a Rashford or a Garnacho or Casemiro leaves or something along of that nature. But it will be really difficult to get a player like that out of Atalanta mid-season. That would be my kind of my feelings towards that. But clear interest in him. Another kind of credible source linking us with Ederson. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Ederson would be a good option for the midfield? Let us know below. Love to hear your opinion on that. And let's run through. So I bought news the other day actually regarding Harry Maguire. So Dean Jones has said Rubem Amorim wants to extend Harry Maguire's contract, as he is confident that he could become a key part of his plans. Maguire is not on course to be put on the market in the winter transfer window. Obviously, the reports the other day were potentially, Maguire himself said that they're in contract negotiations, whether that's a new contract. I don't know at this stage. There's no more kind of updates regarding it. We do have the +1 option on his contract, though, but that's United. We don't need to negotiate with Maguire on that. We can just effectively do it. Obviously, we need to tell him, but we can just do that. So whether the negotiations are on potentially getting him on a reduced wage, similarly to what we tried to do with daye and with Varane, where we offer him a new contract on reduced salary, that might be an option as well. But another story kind of linking Harry Maguire potentially with getting either a new contract or doing the +1 option on his deal. I don't think doing that. If he can do a +1, it is what it is. I think we need a centre-half anyway. And then if you let Lindelof and Johnny Evans go, who are out of contract in the summer, that means we're going to need to bring in 2. If you let Maguire go, that potentially means you're going to need to bring in 3. And I just think that's too much upheaval in one area of the pitch when we have other priorities as well. Like, we need a left wing back, we need a midfielder. I think potentially we're going to need another forward as well, potentially a striker, and then 3 centre-halves. That's not going to happen in one summer transfer window. That's massively unrealistic. So keeping Maguire is not the end of the world. If you get him on a new contract, like a 2-3 year deal, and he reduces his salary, even better. But yeah, one to keep an eye on. Let me know what you think about the Maguire situation in the comments. And then the final few stories I've got for you. So Manchester United have cut steward bonuses, including a £100 attendance bonus and £50 given to a steward for the week as part of cost-saving measures under Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So more cuts from Ineos and that. And how much is that really going to save? Are we that skint? Because in my head, I'm thinking, well, how many stewards attend a game? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm thinking that's more thousands of pounds than hundreds of thousands or millions of pounds. And that just seems really tight for me. That is literally a drop in the ocean at the most for a multi-billionaire like Sir Jim. He could do that himself and it wouldn't and literally have zero impact on him at all. I just think that's really tight. Personally, I genuinely do. We can't be that skint that we need to save thousands of pounds, like I said, let alone hundreds of thousands or millions of pounds. Like, I can't see how that costs, that much, unless I'm totally wrong and it is like millions of pounds we're going to save, in which case, it is what it is. But that just seems really tight to me personally. Let me know what you think below. Now, United plan to send Harry Amass out on loan, preferably January, if the opportunity occurs. Player wants first team minutes and wants to prove what he is all about. Amorim is currently processing the youth, hence why limited players have been involved. So that came from United Scout, very credible when it comes to like the youth setup and things like that. United effectively saying that United are potentially looking to loan out Harry Amass in January. The belief is, or the feeling on Harry Amass from within, is that he's not physically ready to play first team football yet. That's why he's not been given any opportunities. So sending him out on loan to like the Championship or League One team would definitely help accelerate his kind of physicality, because that's proper men's football. And you could kind of see what he was all about. I think technically he's a great player, but I do kind of agree physically maybe not quite as well developed as everybody grows differently as a teenager. So it could only be good for him, I think, anyway, for his development if he was to send out on loan, because he's clearly a good player. He just needs to develop that physicality as well. But let me know what you think about that. And then the final story is regarding, so this Kate, I broke you this a couple of weeks ago on the 9th of December, that Manchester United are considering Atletico Madrid sporting director Andrea Berta as part of as an option to replace Dan Ashworth. That was from Di Marzio a couple of weeks ago. And then Andrea Berta is leaving Atletico Madrid on December the 31st. That came from reports in Spain last night. So that's potentially one to keep an eye on as a possible director of football going forward. Obviously, it's not going to be in time for January, but there'll be no gardening leave. There'll be no cost, no fee. He is a director of football that we were interested in. We were heavily linked with him before we kind of got Ashworth in and then got rid of Ashworth. So obviously having links in Spain, there might be a relationship with Barada as well, because obviously he started off at Barcelona, I believe. So there could be something in that. Keep an eye on it for you. Let me know what you think about that, though, in the comments. And let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.